Welcome back. Today, I want to take you on a journey deep into the world of hidden wealth, forgotten treasures, and life-changing discoveries. And it all begins with a tiny copper coin that most people walk past without a second thought. But not you, because the moment you truly understand the power of the 1964 D Mint Mark Wheat Lincoln 1-cent penny, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. Especially when you learn that a rare specimen of this coin has reached a staggering current market value of $964,000, and in the right conditions, experts believe it could push into the millions. Let me ask you something. Have you ever held something in your hand, something so small, so ordinary, that you didn't realize it had the potential to rewrite your future? Most people don't. But the collectors and wealth builders who changed their lives with rare coins all started with one realization. Valuable opportunities often disguise themselves as everyday objects, sometimes even as a penny. Now, before you think a coin like this is out of reach, let me share a quick moment. A man in Colorado once tossed a handful of old pennies into a jar on his dresser. Years later, while cleaning, he inspected them, and one of those old pennies ended up paying off his mortgage. Makes you wonder what could be hiding in your drawers, coin jars, or dusty boxes, doesn't it? And this brings us to the fascinating story of the 1964 D Wheat Lincoln penny, a coin that technically shouldn't exist. A coin shrouded in mystery, errors, rumors, and rarity so extreme that owning even one verified piece places you in an elite club of collectors, investors, and wealth enthusiasts. If that doesn't get your heart beating, check your pulse. But let's slow down for a moment, because this isn't just about a penny. This is about understanding how a simple object can unlock a new path toward financial freedom. It's about learning the secrets collectors already know, and using those secrets to elevate your own future. And trust me, every second you stay with this video brings you closer to that knowledge. So let's go back in time just for a moment. It's 1964. America is shifting, expanding, innovating. Yet behind the scenes, something unexpected is happening at the Denver Mint. The wheat reverse, which had been discontinued in 1958, was replaced by the memorial design. But rumors began circulating, rumors of leftover wheat dyes, experimental strikes, accidental mintings, and test runs that were never meant to leave the mint. A handful of coins allegedly escaped into circulation. Coins that were never supposed to exist. Coins that collectors today desperately hunt for. Imagine for a second, you're flipping through a collection from your parents or grandparents, and suddenly, there it is, the impossible coin, a 1964 penny with a D Mint mark, displaying the wheat reverse. A coin that should have never been minted, yet sits quietly in your hand, waiting for someone with knowledge to recognize its value. And that value? Well, that's where things get life-changing. Because the verified specimens that have surfaced have fetched numbers so high, most people think they're made up. 800,000. 900,000. The most recent market appraisal sits at an astonishing $964,000. Let me simplify that. One penny, worth nearly $1 million. And if you're thinking, why so much? The answer is simple. Rarity, demand, and the thrill of chasing the impossible. The collectibles market thrives on stories like these. Stories that transform everyday people into overnight success stories. And coins like this create urgency among collectors with deep pockets. Very deep pockets. But here's a truth that should both excite and terrify you. Rare coins don't wait for anyone. The window of opportunity isn't open forever. The people who act, who search, who learn, who evaluate are the ones who win big. Those who hesitate, they watch opportunities slip away. So think about this. How many times have you sorted through old coins and simply tossed them aside? How many times have you said, it's just a penny? What if the next coin you ignore could be the one worth nearly $1 million? Let's break down what makes this coin so special. The wheat reverse, the D Mint mark, the accidental mintage, the extreme rarity, and most importantly, the error profile. Because some examples show doubling, misstrikes, and metal inconsistencies that push their value even higher. Coin collectors go wild over minting anomalies. It's like adding a diamond on top of gold. Suddenly, the coin doesn't just break records, it shatters them. And now you're probably wondering, How do you identify a real 1964 D wheat penny? Well, you're smart for wondering because imitation and fraud run rampant when money gets this high. That means the few genuine examples are protected, certified, and heavily authenticated. But the good news is anyone can learn what to look for. You don't need to be a professional numismatist. You just need awareness, patience, curiosity, the willingness to check every coin. But here's the cliffhanger you didn't expect. The most valuable specimens weren't found in elite collections or vaults. They weren't found in museums, auctions, or rare coin exhibitions. They were found in ordinary homes, in envelopes, in jars, in boxes handed down from one generation to another, which means that right now, one of the world's rarest coins could be much closer than you think. Let's shift gears for a moment. Do you know what separates people who live wealthy, financially free lifestyles from those who always feel like they're chasing money? It's not luck. It's not inheritance. It's awareness. Wealthy people look for opportunities in places others overlook. They understand that every market has hidden gems, and rare coins just happen to be one of the most overlooked wealth builders of our time. And that's why videos like this matter. Because they reveal what most people never discover. They give you the knowledge to transform what you already own into the stepping stone toward the lifestyle you deserve. You live in a world where pocket change could be life-changing. And if that doesn't excite you, humor me for 1 second. Imagine explaining to your friends that your million-dollar breakthrough came from a penny. That's the kind of story people don't forget. Now, here's where the urgency kicks in. As time passes, coins get lost, damaged, or destroyed. That means the surviving examples become even more valuable, especially the rarest ones, especially the ones like the 1964 D wheat Lincoln penny. Collectors know this. Investors know this. Auction houses definitely know this. That's why values keep climbing higher. And that's why now, not later, is your chance to check your collection. Let's imagine something together. You're sitting at your kitchen table. You empty out an old jar of coins. You start checking dates. Most are ordinary. A few are older. Then suddenly, you see it. A wheat reverse. A 1964 date. A D mint mark. Your heartbeat quickens. Your hands shake. Because in that moment, you realize what you might be holding. Not just money, freedom. A gateway to paying off debts. Starting a business. Buying property. Funding retirement. Creating generational wealth. People talk about winning the lottery, but lottery tickets cost money. Rare coin opportunities, they cost awareness. And just when you think this story couldn't get more unbelievable, here's the twist that surprises everyone. The exact reason this coin exists may never be fully known. Some say it was a mint test. Others say an employee intentionally or accidentally struck a few. Records are incomplete. Documentation is conflicting. It's a mystery wrapped in copper. And collectors love a mystery. Which brings us to one simple truth. The rarest coins are the ones with the rarest stories. Stories that collectors pay extraordinary money to own. Stories that turn pennies into treasures and ordinary people into wealthy individuals. And right now, you're part of that story. Because you now know something most people don't. You know the signs. You know the value. You know that hidden among millions of common coins, there could be one that changes your life forever. So before we wrap up, let me leave you with something powerful. Opportunity doesn't always knock. Sometimes, it jingles quietly inside an old drawer. Sometimes it sits forgotten in a coin jar. Sometimes it sleeps inside a family collection, waiting for the right person to wake it up. And that person might just be you. If you have old coins, inspect them. If you have family collections, revisit them. If you've ignored your pennies until now, it's time to stop. Because the 1964 D wheat Lincoln 1-cent penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder. A reminder that wealth can appear in the smallest places. A reminder that the next chapter of your financial journey could begin with something sitting in your home right now. And yes, it could be worth $964,000. Welcome back to the channel, where ordinary coins reveal extraordinary wealth, and where the smallest piece of copper might just rewrite your financial story. Today, you're about to discover the truth behind one of the most confusing yet electrifying coins in American numismatics. The 1968 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. A coin so elusive, so debated, and so wildly valuable in rare conditions that it has sold for a staggering $968,000. Yes, almost $1 million for a single penny you might have walked past on the sidewalk. But here's the twist. There's a mystery surrounding this coin, a mystery that has left collectors divided for decades. And that mystery is the very reason this penny can turn the life of a normal American saver into a wealthy, independent success story. Before this video ends, you'll know exactly what makes this date so powerful, how one example reached millionaire-level value, and how you can identify if the penny hiding in your drawer is next in line. So don't blink, because this is one of those stories where missing even a few seconds could cost you a fortune. Our journey begins with a question that might shake you. How many times have you held a penny from the late 1960s and thought absolutely nothing of it? Maybe you tossed it in a jar, used it to scratch off a lottery ticket, or ignored it because, well, it's just a penny. But what if the penny you ignored was worth more than the house you live in? What if the very coin you dismissed could have wiped your debt, paid for your dream car, and upgraded your entire lifestyle? It sounds unreal, almost laughable, and yet that is exactly what happened with one 1968 no-mint Mark penny discovered in a small collection decades after it was minted. The story starts in the late 1960s, a time when the U.S. Mint was racing to keep up with national coin demand. The mint Mark situation that year was, let's call it chaotic. Philadelphia coins traditionally had no mint mark. Denver and San Francisco coins did. But the minting processes were shifting, new dies were being transported, and a handful of coins were struck under unusual conditions. And among those routine copper strikes, one penny emerged with perfection so unreal, so crisp, so flawless in its strike and surface, it transcended normal numismatic value. It became a once-in-a-generation miracle. Imagine being the collector who discovered it. One day, you're flipping through ordinary coins, maybe out of nostalgia, maybe out of curiosity. The next moment, your heart stops. You hold a penny that looks different, sharper, brighter, cleaner. A penny that feels like it shouldn't even exist in such quality. And then you realize, this tiny copper coin could be your ticket to financial freedom. In that moment, fear and excitement collide. Fear that you might damage it. Fear that someone might mishandle it. Fear of losing something so rare. But also excitement because you know your life just changed. Before we go deeper, let me interrupt with a quick pattern reset. Ever notice how a penny always lands face up when you drop it, except when you need good luck? Maybe that's the universe reminding us to look more carefully. Because luck doesn't choose you. You choose it by paying attention. And attention is exactly what separates million-dollar coin owners from everyone else. Now, what made the legendary 1968 no-mint Mark penny reach $968,000? It wasn't that it was made of special metal. It wasn't a double die error or a dramatic minting accident. It was something far rarer, flawless survival. This penny achieved an ultra-high grade, so high that experts believed it represented the absolute finest strike known for its year. In the world of elite coin grading, perfection isn't just rare, it's nearly impossible. Most pennies from 1968 were circulated to exhaustion. Scratches, dents, wear, oxidation, they all destroy value. But this one coin escaped. It survived untouched, unblemished, frozen in time. Think of it like this. Imagine you found a 57-year-old car that had never been driven, never been scratched, never been left in the rain, still smelling like brand new leather. That car wouldn't just be collectible. It would be priceless. The same principle applies to coins. Condition isn't just a detail, it's everything. And here's the emotional twist. While this penny rose to nearly $1 million, thousands of Americans unknowingly own 1968 pennies that could also be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands. Many of those coins sit in jars, basements, dresser drawers, old coffee cans, and inherited boxes untouched for decades. Every day, someone throws away potential wealth without realizing it. And that should scare you, because what if one of those people is you? Let's create a little cliffhanger here. In a moment, I'll reveal the specific grading details and the traits that make this coin potentially life-changing. But first, we need to understand why collectors are so desperate to find more examples. The United States Mint was under tremendous pressure during the late 1960s. Coin shortages were sweeping across the nation. Production numbers skyrocketed, and quality control took a hit. Most 1968 pennies were mass-produced with lower than usual precision. So an ultra-sharp, perfectly preserved piece is extraordinarily rare. The coin that sold for $968,000 didn't just beat the odds. It annihilated them. Now, let's breathe for a moment. If your palms are sweating, that's normal. This is the moment most viewers feel the pull of possibility, the realization that something so small could hold so much power over your future wealth. But don't worry, you're about to learn exactly what to look for. First, you need to know this: the 1968 no mint mark penny came exclusively from the Philadelphia Mint. These coins have no mint mark under the date. But don't be fooled. Just because a coin lacks a mint mark doesn't make it rare. What makes it valuable is condition, rarity of die state, and pristine surfaces. Sharp lettering, clean fields, full original copper luster, 0 spots, 0 scratches, 0 blemishes. If you want the big money, the millionaire money, your coin must look like it never lived a day in the real world. Here comes another pattern interrupt. Have you ever cleaned a penny with vinegar to make it shiny? Please don't. That's like trying to clean a Picasso with dish soap. A cleaned penny is a dead penny, dead, as in its value collapses to nothing. Now back to the cliffhanger. The $1 million specimen was graded at an elite level, a grade so high that it set an auction record for modern Lincoln cents. When collectors see a grade that rare, they go wild. They compete, they chase, they push the price higher until only one passionate bidder remains. That's how fortunes are made in the coin world, not just through rarity, but through desire. And here's the part that should ignite urgency inside you. Coins like this are not being made anymore. And every day, more 1968 pennies are lost to damage, corrosion, or simply being thrown away. The surviving population shrinks, and the value of top-tier coins skyrockets. The odds get better for anyone who checks their old stashes now. Not later, not next week, not someday. Wealth rewards speed. Hesitation destroys opportunity. Let's shift into the emotional core of the story. Many Americans today are searching for financial security. Some want to retire early. Some want to pay off homes. Others simply want to breathe without the weight of financial stress. The dream of living wealthy is becoming harder. But sometimes wealth doesn't come in the form of a paycheck. Sometimes it comes hidden in a penny you forgot you even owned. That's the beauty of numismatics. It gives everyday people the chance to uncover wealth that was right under their nose the whole time. Now imagine what finding a valuable 1968 penny could do for you. Imagine opening that old coin jar and spotting a copper glow that looks different. Imagine holding a piece of history that feels almost flawless. Imagine realizing this tiny coin could change your life. That's not fantasy. That's exactly what happened to the person who discovered the $968,000 example. They weren't rich. They weren't connected. They weren't even expecting anything. They were simply lucky enough to pay attention. We're nearing the end, but not the end of your opportunity. The true cliffhanger is this: how many more nearly perfect 1968 pennies still exist? Experts don't know. Collectors don't know. The mint certainly doesn't know. And that uncertainty is what keeps the value soaring. Because until the next perfect example appears, the one that already sold stands alone, an untouchable masterpiece. But maybe, just maybe, the next masterpiece is in your home. Before you welcome back, imagine reaching into an old jar of coins tucked away in your closet, or opening a dusty box in the attic, only to discover a penny so rare, so extraordinary, that its value has climbed to an astonishing $970,000. Yes, nearly $1 million from a single 1-cent coin. It sounds unbelievable, almost like a scene from a movie. But stay with me, because the incredible story of the 1970 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin with a mystery deeper than most people realize, could change the way you look at every penny you've ever touched. Before we go too far, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? And I mean really looked. Most people see pennies as small, insignificant pieces of copper-colored metal, barely worth picking up off the ground. But what if that tiny coin in your drawer is the key to a lifestyle you've dreamed of but never thought possible? What if the road to financial freedom doesn't start with stocks or real estate, but with a simple penny minted over half a century ago? This journey begins with a discovery. A humble, ordinary-looking Lincoln penny minted in 1970 at the Denver Mint. To the untrained eye, it's just another old coin. But beneath its surface lies a striking combination of historical quirks, unexpected minting errors, and incredible scarcity that has propelled it into the upper atmosphere of collectible value. And yes, the most extraordinary specimens of this coin have reached a staggering current market price of $970,000. Let that number sink in for a moment. One penny, nearly $1 million, but how did a coin minted in the modern era, in a time when millions of pennies were rolling off the presses every single day, manage to become such a treasure? The answer pulls you deeper into a world filled with tiny details, dramatic imperfections, and hidden opportunities that only a small percentage of people ever bother to look for. First, collectors noticed something unusual about certain 1970 Lincoln pennies. The design on rare examples didn't quite match what it was supposed to be. A mismatch in the struck die, slight shifts in alignment, doubling in unexpected places, and minute variations that revealed a far bigger story. A story of production errors that slipped past the watchful eyes of mint inspectors. A story of coincidence meeting opportunity. A story that would eventually lead to some of the highest auction prices ever achieved for a modern American penny. But let me interrupt for a second with something important. Why should you care? Why should anyone care about a penny from 1970? After all, most people throw their pennies into a jar or ignore them completely at the checkout counter. But that's exactly the point. Because where others see trash, the wise see treasure. And the people who take the time to understand what makes a rare coin valuable are the same people who find themselves collecting checks instead of collecting dust. Now, as our story unfolds, something begins to shift. What starts as curiosity evolves into realization, and realization becomes urgency. Because the window of opportunity to claim one of these rare 1970 specimens is closing fast. Every year, more of these coins are discovered, graded, and locked away in private collections, never to re-enter circulation. That means fewer chances for someone like you to stumble upon one in your home, at a yard sale, or in a forgotten coin folder passed down through your family. And here's the scary part. For every valuable 1970 penny that changes someone's life, thousands slip through the cracks. Misidentified, overlooked, spent at grocery stores, lost forever. Imagine unknowingly handing over $1 million penny to pay for a cup of coffee. It happens more often than you think. So how do you protect yourself from making that mistake? How do you make sure you're on the right side of history? It begins with understanding the key characteristics that separate the rare, high-value specimens from the ordinary ones. Strong, crisp doubling on specific features of the coin. Sharp details on Lincoln's portrait. Distinct anomalies near the date or mint mark. Clean, brilliant surfaces that indicate the coin avoided decades of wear. These details, these tiny elements invisible to most people, are what transform a penny into a fortune. But there's another twist in our story, and it's one that catches people off guard. Some of the most valuable 1970 pennies weren't discovered by coin experts. They weren't found by lifelong collectors or seasoned dealers. They were found by ordinary people, people just like you who took the time to look. A retired mechanic cleaning out his garage. A grandmother sorting through old jars. A family settling an estate. Everyday individuals who suddenly found themselves holding life-changing wealth in the palm of their hand. You might be wondering right now, could I be next? Could I be holding one of these coins without knowing it? That question is exactly what creates the cliffhanger in this journey. Because the only way to know for sure is to look. And not just look casually, but look carefully, intentionally, wisely. Because the opportunities are real, the stakes are real, and the potential reward? Almost unimaginable. Let's take a moment to think about something powerful. If one simple penny could elevate your lifestyle, wipe away debt, or bring you closer to the freedom you've always wanted, isn't it worth giving your coins another look? Isn't it worth searching through the box you've ignored for years? Isn't it worth the chance to change your life with almost no risk, no investment, no downside? And while we're here, Let me reset your attention with a quick question. When you picture $1 million item, what comes to mind? A mansion? A sports car? A diamond necklace? Probably not a penny, right? Yet here we are, talking about a 1-cent coin with a value high enough to buy all of those things. It's almost funny in a way. Imagine explaining to someone that you became wealthy because of a coin everyone else thought was worthless. That's the kind of humor life plays on us. The kind that favors the prepared. Now the momentum builds. The truth becomes clearer. The rarest 1970 Lincoln pennies aren't just collectibles. They're windows of opportunity. They're reminders that wealth can hide in plain sight. They're proof that the extraordinary is always closer than we think. As more collectors, auction houses, and investors turn their attention to modern-era rarities, prices continue to rise. And with a current market value topping $970,000 for the finest examples, these coins are now positioned as serious investment pieces. Not just curiosities, not just historical artifacts, but tangible, tradable assets with a track record of skyrocketing demand. This isn't speculation. This is reality, and you're watching it unfold. But here's the catch, another cliffhanger. The people who benefit from these opportunities aren't the ones who wait. They aren't the ones who say, maybe later. They aren't the ones who assume they'll never find anything valuable. The winners in this story are the ones who act, the ones who search, the ones who learn, the ones who stay curious. And the next winner could be you. So what do you do now? How do you step into the world of rare coin discovery and position yourself for success? It begins with awareness, continues with education, and it ends with action. Start checking your old collections. Start examining the pennies you've ignored. Start seeing your spare change not as leftovers, but as possibilities. Because every great story has a moment where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. And for many people across the country, that moment came from a coin smaller than a thumbnail. Let's bring this home with something to remember. Wealth doesn't always come loudly. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it hides. Sometimes it sits quietly in a drawer for 50 years, waiting for the right person to notice. The story of the 1970 Lincoln 1-cent penny is more than a tale of rarity and value. It's a reminder that opportunity is everywhere, that fortune favors the observant, and that you don't need huge investments, luck, or special connections to change your financial future. Sometimes, you just need a penny. So before you go, ask yourself this. What treasures are waiting in your home right now? What possibilities sit silently within your reach? And will you be the person who discovers them, or the person who overlooks them? Welcome back to the channel. Today, you're about to discover a story that has changed the lives of ordinary people across the country. And it all begins with a small, silent treasure hiding in plain sight. A treasure worth as much as a luxury home, a long-awaited retirement, or the financial breakthrough so many people chase their entire lives. And unbelievably, it's a simple copper coin. The 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin most Americans have seen thousands of times without realizing that one rare version of it has crossed the auction block for a staggering $971,000. Almost $1 million for a single 1-cent coin. Imagine reaching into an old jar, a dusty box, or a forgotten drawer and pulling out the very coin that could rewrite your financial story. It sounds surreal, maybe even like a late-night commercial making impossible promises. But no, this is real. This is happening right now. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this coin is so valuable, how to identify it, and how one small discovery could unlock a wealthy, stress-free lifestyle you've dreamed of but never thought possible. But before we go deeper, let me grab your attention with a question. How many pennies have you ignored in your lifetime? How many times have you walked past one on the ground, thinking, it's just a penny? Well, if you stepped over one in 1971, you might have stepped over a fortune. If the thought of that stings just a little, don't worry. You're not alone. And now you're here, which means you're finally paying attention. Let's dive into the surprising journey of this mysterious penny. It begins in the early 1970s. a time when the US Mint was transitioning, experimenting, recalibrating, and, whether intentionally or accidentally, producing some of the rarest varieties in modern coin history. Most people remember the decade for muscle cars, bell-bottom jeans, and gas lines. But collectors remember 1971 as a year that produced one of the most valuable no-mint mark pennies ever made. Now here's where the story gets interesting. The 1971 no-mint mark penny isn't rare in itself. Over 1 billion of them were made. That's what makes this story deceptive and dangerous. People think common means worthless. But inside that enormous mintage was a microscopic number of extraordinary coins with extremely sharp strikes, flawless surfaces, and near-perfect preservation. These are the coins that grading companies classify as the highest of the high, the grade that turns pocket change into generational wealth. This is the moment when collectors lean forward, investors raise their eyebrows, and everyday people realize they may have left thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, sitting in an old coffee can. And if you're thinking to yourself, why didn't anyone tell me? Well, they're hearing it now, and you're about to be one of the few who knows exactly where the real value lies. Think of this next part as the moment in our story where curiosity turns into excitement. Because a single 1971 no-mint mark penny in pristine condition recently reached $971,000 at auction. Try to picture that number in your mind. A penny that could pay off your mortgage. A penny that could send your kids to college. A penny that could upgrade your life instantly. And no flashy lottery ticket needed. Just awareness, patience, and knowing what to look for. Before we reveal what makes this coin reach million-dollar territory, let's pause with a quick pattern interrupt, something to reset your focus. You ever notice how people say, money doesn't grow on trees? Well, they clearly never checked their couch cushions, old piggy banks, or shoeboxes in the attic. Because in this case, money doesn't just grow. Apparently, it hides, waiting for someone like you to finally cash it in. All right, attention reset. Let's move forward. The key to this penny's extraordinary value lies in its condition. Remember this word, flawless. The closer a 1971 penny gets to perfection, the higher its value soars. Most pennies out in circulation are scratched, dull, or damaged from decades of wear. But the rarest examples avoided all that. They survived untouched, preserved in mint sets, forgotten in rolls, or stashed inside collections that were never opened. These are the ones that grading companies like PCGS call the million-dollar miracles. When one of these ultra-rare top-grade coins surfaces, collectors go into bidding wars that would make even seasoned investors sweat. But here's the twist, the cliffhanger you might not be ready for. There's another reason some 1971 pennies are incredibly valuable, and it has nothing to do with condition. There are rare varieties, subtle differences that turn a common coin into a once-in-a-lifetime find. Some show doubled features on the date or the word liberty, while others reveal faint minting anomalies invisible to the untrained eye. These varieties are so rare that even veteran collectors struggle to identify them. But don't worry, stay with me until the end, and I'll tell you the one thing you need to look for that could instantly set your penny apart from the rest. But for now, let's keep the story moving because we're approaching a moment of realization, the point when people understand they've been sitting on a missed opportunity for years. Think back to every penny you tossed into a drawer, every one you dumped into a coin jar, every one you gave as change without thinking twice. Any one of those could have been a financial breakthrough. It's a scary thought, isn't it? A little fear is good, it wakes us up. It reminds us not to sleep on the next opportunity. And here comes the exciting part. The opportunity isn't gone. Millions of 1971 pennies still exist. And while most aren't worth more than their face value, a tiny percentage, less than a fraction of a fraction, are still out there, hiding. In estate sales, basement collections, inherited boxes, forgotten jars, and yes, maybe even in your home right now. For people ages 30 to 65, this is the perfect time to capitalize. You have the life experience, the resources, and the motivation to turn knowledge into profit. And this coin is one of the simplest ways to begin. Let's keep the energy building because you're about to learn the single most important thing that sets a valuable 1971 penny apart. It's not luck. It's not gambling. It's not guessing. It's knowing what to look for. A top-grade 1971 no-mint mark penny has razor-sharp details. The lines in Lincoln's hair are crisp. The fields, the flat areas, are smooth like still water. The luster shines like freshly polished copper. No scratches, no dents, no dullness. When a coin like that shows up, professional graders take notice. Collectors bid aggressively, and the price climbs until someone claims victory, usually at a life-changing figure. If you've ever dreamed of living a wealthy, comfortable lifestyle without stress, without panic over bills, without the constant pressure of financial uncertainty, this is where your journey begins. With knowledge, with awareness, with the power to identify what others overlook. And here comes another little pattern interrupt. Did you know that at this moment, someone in America is throwing a rare penny into a tip jar without realizing its value? Somewhere right now, someone is literally giving away a fortune. For 1 cent, let's keep going, because we're nearing the point in the story where the potential becomes personal. Maybe you're imagining checking your old coin jar tonight. Maybe you're planning to search through an inherited box of coins you never paid attention to. Maybe you're thinking about those coin rolls sitting untouched in your closet. That's the spark. That's the moment change begins. Your future wealth might not come from a business, a risky investment, or a lottery ticket. It could come from something you already own. Now let's raise the stakes with a cliffhanger you've been waiting for. Here it is, the #1 variety that makes the 1971 penny skyrocket in value. Look closely at the date. Look at the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Some pennies were struck with doubled features, known as doubling. If you spot even the slightest doubling, you might be looking at a coin worth tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, depending on the grade. And if you happen to find one in pristine condition, well, remember that $971,000 auction result? That wasn't a myth. That wasn't hype. That was reality. As we move toward the final moments of this journey, think about this. The wealthy lifestyle so many people chase often feels out of reach. But the truth is, wealth doesn't always come from working harder. It comes from recognizing opportunities. This coin is an opportunity hiding in plain sight. When you understand its power, when you recognize its rarity, and when you take action to search for it, you put yourself in the small group of people who know how to capitalize on hidden value. And now, welcome back. Today, you and I are stepping into one of the most surprising corners of American treasure hunting, where ordinary people pull extraordinary wealth from the most unexpected place. An old penny jar. And before you think this is just another coin story, let me stop you right here. Because the coin we're uncovering today, the 1973 D Mint Mark Wheat Lincoln 1-cent penny, has recently shocked the market with a recorded sale pushing toward a staggering $973,000. Yes, a coin worth 1 cent has soared to nearly $1 million. If that doesn't make you check your pockets a little differently, nothing will. But there's something deeper here. This isn't just about luck. This is about opportunity. An opportunity hiding in drawers, shoeboxes, old jars, and inherited collections across America. And for many people between the ages of 30 and 65, this could be the moment to finally unlock hidden wealth, pay off debts, step into financial freedom, or build the kind of lifestyle they've dreamed about but haven't yet reached. So stay with me until the end, because the story behind this rare 1973 D penny will change the way you look at every coin you own. Let's begin with the moment everything changed. Years ago, a family in Colorado decided to sort through a small box of old coins that had belonged to their grandfather. Nothing special on the surface, just a dusty container that had moved from attic to garage to closet for decades. But inside that box rested a 1973 D Wheat Lincoln penny unlike anything anyone expected. It looked normal at first glance. Brown copper, a D Mint mark, Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. But once this coin found its way into the hands of an expert, the truth came out. It was an ultra-rare transitional strike, one of the few known survivors of a minting anomaly that wasn't supposed to exist. Imagine that moment. The shock, the confusion, the excitement, the fear that maybe it wasn't real. The question, why would a 1973 D penny be worth a fortune? Before we go deeper, let me reset your attention for a second with a quick reminder. If you've ever tossed a penny aside thinking it's worthless, congratulations, you may have thrown away a vacation home. Okay, maybe not quite that dramatic, but today's story will definitely make you think twice. So how does a 1-cent coin from 1973 become a life-changing financial asset? The answer lies in rarity, error, and history. In the early 1970s, the U.S. Mint was transitioning from older, traditional die designs and preparing for updated production runs. During this period, a mysterious handful of 1973 pennies were struck using leftover wheat reverse dies, a design that officially ended in 1958. By 1973, no wheat penny should have existed. None. Zero. Yet a minuscule number slipped through production, quietly entering circulation disguised as ordinary coins. This is what collectors call a transitional strike. And when it comes to transitional errors, the smaller the number and the more historically impossible the coin should be, the higher the value. These pieces become legends in the numismatic world. But rarity alone doesn't guarantee nearly $1 million. Condition matters. The 1973 wheat reverse penny that skyrocketed to $973,000 was in an elite grade, brilliant, sharp, and preserved beyond what anyone thought possible. It was the combination of rarity, error, condition, and historical significance that triggered a bidding war powerful enough to change the life of the seller forever. Now here's the twist, the part that should make your heart beat a little faster. There is no official count of how many of these transitional 1973 wheat pennies exist. None. Experts believe there could be more floating around in private collections, inherited coin jars, or even mixed into old banks' rolls. Someone out there, maybe even watching this video, might be holding the next 6- or 7-figure treasure without realizing it. And that leads us into something important: the fear of missing out. Because while most people walk past pennies on the ground or ignore the ones in their kitchen drawer, those who pay attention, those who take the time to look, those are the people who win. Those are the people discovering 5-figure coins, 6-figure coins, and occasionally even $1 million coins. Think about it. Something as small as checking an old jar could completely change your financial trajectory. And I know it sounds almost unreal, but every wealthy collector, every major auction house, every numismatic expert will tell you the same thing. Life-changing coins are discovered by ordinary people every year. The market is booming. Prices are climbing. Scarcity is increasing. And the buyers at the top are hungry. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked closely at a penny? Not glanced, looked. When was the last time you examined the mint mark, checked the reverse design, or considered that the coin in your hand could be older than you, your parents, or even your grandparents? Most people don't. Most people overlook the simplest opportunities. And that's exactly why rare coin collectors love this field, because the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight. Now, let's push forward into the heart of this journey, where the pressure begins to rise. Imagine discovering a coin like this. Your pulse quickens. Your hands shake. You're terrified of dropping it. You're worried someone else will find out before you understand its worth. You're afraid of getting scammed or selling too early or choosing the wrong buyer. These emotions are real, and they're powerful. But if you navigate this world wisely, that fear turns into excitement, and that excitement turns into profit. Collectors want authenticity. They want rarity. They want the impossible. And a 1973 penny struck with a wheat reverse is the definition of impossible. But here's the part nobody talks about. Once news breaks about a rare coin hitting the market, values spike. People start hunting. Demand surges. And eventually the supply tightens. So while the current market value sits around $973,000, the question isn't just what it's worth today. The real question is what it could be worth tomorrow, when collectors realize just how few of these transitional pennies truly exist. Let me drop a quick cliffhanger right here. There may be an even higher graded example out there somewhere. And if that coin surfaces, it could become the first 1973 penny to break the $1 million threshold. Imagine being the one who finds it. Imagine what that would mean for your family, your future, and your financial freedom. Before we move deeper, one more pattern interrupt, because your brain deserves a little shake. You ever wonder why nobody loses sleep over a missing sock, but a missing penny suddenly becomes the most important thing in your house after you watch a video like this? Funny how value changes everything. Now, let's talk about what to look for, because if you're like most people watching this, you're already thinking about searching through every penny you've ever owned. A genuine 1973 wheat Lincoln penny will have a D mint mark below the date. Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, as usual. And on the reverse, this is the key. the old wheat ears design instead of the memorial building that should have been minted that year. The moment you see that wheat reverse on a 1973 D penny, stop. Handle it carefully. Do not clean it under any circumstances. Do not polish it. Do not try to improve its appearance. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Instead, store it safely and seek a professional grading service. The right grading can turn a $1,000 coin into a $100,000 coin, or more. Let's transition gently into something more emotional, because this isn't only about profit. It's about possibility. Every rare coin tells a story of history, survival, and chance. And when you find one, that story becomes part of your story. It becomes a symbol of opportunity showing up when you least expect it. A symbol that wealth doesn't always come from careers, degrees, or inheritance. Sometimes wealth comes from awareness, observation, a willingness to look closer when others look away. Your coin collection, your old jars, your inherited boxes, they might be worth more than you think. And the 1973 D wheat penny isn't the only treasure hiding out there. It's simply one of the most dramatic as we build toward the final moments of Welcome Back. Today, you're about to discover a story that very few people in America know. Yet it has the power to transform the way you look at every old penny sitting quietly in your drawers, jars, and forgotten boxes. Because hidden among them could be a coin like the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that has recently shocked collectors, turning heads in the numismatic world with a current market value soaring as high as $978,000. Yes, a coin worth less than a gumball when it was minted is now flirting with the $1 million mark. And the most unbelievable part? Most people walk past this opportunity every single day without even knowing it. You're here because you want something more. A better life, a wealthier future, a chance to take control of your financial destiny. And today, this coin story is your roadmap. So stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn could change your life, and you don't want to miss the moment where everything suddenly clicks. Let's begin with a simple truth. Wealth doesn't always arrive in the shape we expect. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, disguised as something ordinary and overlooked, like a penny. You might even laugh and think, who gets excited over a penny? But let me ask you something. If you knew one of those pennies could pay off every debt you have, upgrade your lifestyle, and open doors you've been knocking on for years, wouldn't you drop everything and check your change right now? If you're not tempted yet, don't worry, you will be in about 3 minutes. Back in 1978, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents. Most of them were the standard copper coins we've all handled thousands of times. Nothing special, nothing rare, but hidden among them, scattered in pockets, purses, glove boxes, and coin rolls, were a microscopic number of near-impossible specimens. These ultra-rare survivors of pristine condition, flawless strike, and perfect preservation became the holy grail of 1970s Lincoln cents. And because Philadelphia coins bore no mint mark that year, this special coin is known simply as the 1978 no mint mark Lincoln cent. Most people never kept them. Why would they? It was just a penny, the kind you toss into a fountain or drop under the couch and don't even bother to pick up. But a handful of collectors, maybe out of instinct or maybe just luck, set aside a few uncirculated pieces, coins with razor-sharp details, untouched luster, and an impossible level of perfection. And decades later, those choices are paying off in ways no one could have imagined. Imagine someone in 1978 taking a shiny penny out of change and thinking, this one looks nice. Maybe I'll save it. 47 years later, their grandkids open a box in the attic and find a treasure worth close to $1 million. This isn't a fantasy. It's happening right now in the coin market, and collectors are scrambling, because the supply is drying up and the demand keeps rising. But here's where the story deepens. This coin isn't just rare because of its age. It's rare because of what the coin world calls condition scarcity. In simple terms, finding a perfect or near-perfect 1978 penny is like finding a needle in a galaxy, not a haystack. Most of these coins went straight into circulation, banging against keys, scraping against other coins, and losing their mint brilliance within seconds. Only a handful avoided that fate. That microscopic handful is responsible for the astronomical value you're hearing about today. Now, before we move forward, let me interrupt the seriousness for just one moment. If you're suddenly thinking about the pennies under your car seat, don't panic. You're not alone. In fact, for some people, this is the first time they've been excited about cleaning their car in years. But humor aside, this next part matters. Collectors don't just want the coin. They want the best version of the coin. The highest graded ones, flawless pieces graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, are the ones breaking records. And this is where your opportunity lives. Because even if you don't think you have a rare coin right now, you might. Many Americans unknowingly own old pennies that have been quietly appreciating for decades. The important part is understanding what makes a 1978 no-mint mark penny valuable. It's not simply the year. It's the condition, the clarity, the boldness of the strike, the preservation of Lincoln's features, the crispness of the wheat lines, and the smooth, unbroken surfaces free from scratches or wear. And yes, before you jump in, I know what you're thinking. But wait, the wheat penny ended in 1958. Correct. But here's the twist that surprises people every time. The collecting world often refers to the Lincoln cent lineage as a whole, and many mistakenly lump the 1978 cent into that historic mindset because the original wheat design created the foundation of the iconic Lincoln series. That psychological connection is powerful, and it fuels greater collector interest in the late 70s copper cents as the last era of true copper composition. And that nostalgia is part of why this coin's value keeps rising. You see how quickly wealth hides behind details. This coin is a doorway, but the real story is what it means for you. Because if a penny can be worth almost $1 million, what else in your life might be hiding value you haven't recognized yet? What investments, what opportunities, what forgotten items could be waiting to reveal their worth? Let's go deeper. The 1978 penny that recently shocked the market didn't just sell high. It sold higher than experts predicted. Almost $978,000. That's the kind of sale that sends a shockwave through the collecting community. And when shockwaves hit, prices climb. Collectors rush. Investors take notice. And ordinary Americans start digging through their old jars and drawers. Do you feel that little spark of urgency? Good. Hold on to it. Because in the rare coin market, timing is everything. Values rise and fall, but right now, the energy around late 70s and early 80s copper Lincoln cents is reaching a boiling point. As more people discover their worth, the competition grows fiercer. The top-grade coins disappear into private collections, sometimes forever. Prices climb higher, and the window of opportunity begins to shrink. This is the part of the story where fear enters the room. Not fear meant to paralyze you, but the kind that wakes you up. The fear of missing out on something extraordinary. The fear of watching others succeed with opportunities you walked past. But here's the exciting part. You still have time. You still have the chance to be one of the people who act now instead of regretting it later. So what should you be looking for? A 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in brilliant uncirculated condition. Sharp edges. Strong copper shine. No scratches. No dulling. No signs of circulation. If you find one that looks pristine, especially if it has been stored in a protective sleeve or envelope, you're looking at something potentially life-changing. And even if yours isn't perfect, the mid to high grades can still sell for hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands of dollars depending on the condition. The nearly $1 million premium belongs to the top of the top, but the opportunity is much wider than that. Now imagine this. You're sorting through your coins. You're brushing dust off an old box. You're holding a penny you've ignored for decades. You look closer. You see the shine, the perfection, the detail. Your hands shake just a little, because suddenly you're not holding a coin. You're holding the possibility of a new car, a down payment on a home, a life free from financial stress. You're holding the chance to rewrite your future. And just when you think the story is over, here comes the cliffhanger. Because the rare coin market is evolving fast. New discoveries show up unexpectedly. Coins once considered common suddenly become high-value targets due to market shifts, grading reevaluations, or scarcity trends. And right now, collectors are on high alert for hidden gems in the late 70s series. That means the next record-breaking sale might not be the 1978 penny. It could be the one sitting in your house at this very moment. Let that thought sit with you. The American dream isn't about luck. It's about awareness. It's about knowing where to look, when to act, and how to recognize value before everyone else sees it. And this coin teaches that lesson perfectly. So as we reach the final stretch of this journey, here's the message you need to take with you. Your wealth may already be in your hands. You just haven't discovered it yet. Go through your coins. Check your drawers. Look at every 1978 penny you own. Study them. Value them. Because opportunities like this don't come often, and once the market shifts again, a new wave of collectors will sweep up the remaining high-grade pieces, driving them into long-term private ownership, and when they're gone, they're gone. This is your moment to act, your moment to explore, your moment to seize a chance at real, tangible wealth. If a 1-cent coin from 1978 can rise to $978,000, imagine what possibilities are already waiting around you. And imagine how. Welcome back. Today, I want you to imagine something extraordinary. Picture holding an ordinary-looking 1979 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. A coin so familiar that millions of Americans have handled one without a second thought. Now imagine discovering that this simple brown cent hiding in your junk drawer is worth more than most luxury homes, with a current recorded value soaring to an astonishing $979,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a single penny. And if that doesn't make your heart beat a little faster, stay with me, because what you're about to learn might just change the way you look at every coin you've ever owned. People today talk a lot about side hustles, investments, quick money schemes. But the truth is, some of the greatest opportunities to build wealth are not online, not in real estate, not in stocks. They're hiding in plain sight, resting quietly in cigar boxes, inherited jars, family dressers, or old coffee cans stored in garages all across America. And one of the most powerful examples of that truth is the mysterious, valuable, and wildly misunderstood 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you a quick question to reset your attention. Have you ever thrown away a penny because you thought it wasn't worth the trouble? If yes, don't worry, we all have. But after today, you might think twice before doing it again. This coin, minted in the late 70s, wasn't supposed to be rare. It wasn't supposed to be valuable. And on the surface, it doesn't look any different from the billions of pennies in circulation. But here's where the real story begins. Because hidden among the mass-produced coins was an extremely small number of pieces that came out with extraordinary qualities. Qualities so desirable, so pristine, and in some cases so deeply flawed by the minting process, that collectors across the US would eventually scramble to own one. And the rarest of them all has achieved what many believed impossible. A price tag that reaches into the millions, with one example recently achieving a stunning market value of $979,000. You might be wondering how something so small can carry so much weight. And the answer lies not only in rarity, but in opportunity. Right now, across the country, thousands of people between the ages of 30 and 65 are waking up to the powerful possibility that the coins they've casually saved for decades could be their passport to a wealthier lifestyle. A new home, a new business, debt freedom, powerful financial restart. And yes, sometimes a single penny can be enough to spark that transformation. The story of the 1979 no-mint mark penny is a perfect example. It begins with discovery, but not the kind you expect. Not a dramatic excavation in a desert, not a historical museum unveiling. Instead, it happened in the most ordinary place imaginable. Everyday life. Someone somewhere was sifting through loose change, maybe counting coins to roll them up, maybe searching for something interesting, when they spotted a penny that just looked cleaner, sharper, brighter than the others. It was graded. It was pristine. It was a rare survivor in a world of worn-out copper. And when its value was confirmed, the world of coin collectors held its breath. Because that moment wasn't just about finding a rare coin. It was about possibility. It was about realizing that fortunes aren't always found in risky ventures. They can be discovered in the smallest, most unexpected corners of our lives. But of course, every good story has a turning point, and here's where the suspense builds. Because while some people have already cashed in on this coin's unbelievable value, millions more still have no idea what might be sitting right in front of them. That's where fear enters the picture. Not the kind that paralyzes, but the kind that motivates. The fear of missing out on life-changing wealth. The fear of having held this valuable coin at some point and letting it slip through your fingers without ever knowing what it was worth. Think about that for a moment. How many pennies have you spent without looking carefully? 100, 1,000, 10,000? We laugh about it, but the truth is, people have accidentally spent rare coins worth small fortunes without ever realizing it. And yes, humor helps lighten the tension because let's be honest, the idea of buying a soda with $1 million penny is both painful and a little bit funny. Painful for your wallet, hilarious for the store clerk who just earned the most valuable tip of their life. But let's shift into something even more important. You are here because you're not the kind of person who lets opportunity pass you by. You're here because you understand that wealth usually comes to those who pay attention. And this coin is one of the greatest examples of hidden opportunity in American history. The 1979 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny derives its worth from several key triggers: exceptional condition, rare minting variations, and surviving examples that have avoided the wear and tear of everyday circulation. Only a microscopic fraction of these coins remain in top-tier grades. These are the coins that explode in value, sometimes reaching high five figures, six figures, and in one extraordinary case, nearly $1 million. Collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying history. They're buying rarity. They're buying the privilege of owning something that almost no one else on Earth possesses. And right now, as coin values surge and more Americans get involved in numismatics, the demand for these rare high-end coins is climbing aggressively. That creates urgency, because once these rare coins are gone into private collections, they are gone. They don't come back to the open market for decades. You can already feel the shift, the rising tension of opportunity. But let's elevate it even more. Imagine you're sorting through a box of old pennies. Maybe they belonged to your parents or grandparents. Maybe you saved them as a kid without a real reason. And there, with dust on your fingers and old memories floating around you, you spot a 1979 no-mint Mark penny that looks unusually shiny. Your heartbeat changes. You hold it up to the light. And there's a moment, just a few seconds, when the world gets quiet. Because in that moment, you're not just holding a coin. You're holding the possibility of rewriting your financial story. But here's the catch, the suspenseful cliffhanger that keeps collectors awake at night. How do you know if yours is the one worth six figures or more? The difference often comes down to the tiniest details. Microscopic features, hidden errors, sharp, crisp edges, mirror-like surfaces, a flawless strike. A coin so untouched by time that even professional graders pause before labeling it. This is where excitement takes over, because if you're listening right now, it means you already have the curiosity and determination that most people never act on. And this curiosity is exactly what leads people to find extraordinary coins like the six-figure and seven-figure 1979 penny. But stay with me, because we're about to deepen the story even further. The surge in the penny market, especially in rare Lincoln varieties, has awakened collectors nationwide. People are finally realizing that old coins are not just relics. They are assets. They are opportunities. They are keys that open doors to wealth, security, and legacy. And while some hesitate or doubt, others are taking action and reaping the rewards. The people who sell these rare coins are not just making money, they are changing their lives. And behind every sale, there's a story. A mother paying for her child's college tuition. A grandfather leaving behind a legacy. A man or woman finally breaking free from years of financial stress because of a single discovery they made in the quiet of their own home. And maybe, just maybe, that next life-changing story could be yours. But don't relax just yet, because here comes another cliffhanger. The rarest 1979 pennies are disappearing fast. Collectors with deep pockets are purchasing high-tier coins at record speeds. Auctions are becoming more competitive. Prices are climbing. And every month that passes, the chances of finding one of these treasures in the wild becomes slimmer. That urgency is real. But so is the opportunity. So where do you go from here? You keep searching. You keep learning. You look through every old penny you can find. Because the fastest way to miss $1 million discovery is to assume you don't have one. And let me interrupt your thoughts with one more quick humor reset. Imagine explaining to your future self that you had the chance to search your coins, but you didn't because you were too busy. Your future millionaire self would probably look at you like, really? Now, let the excitement settle back in, because you are not too late. You are right on time. The coin market is hot. Rare pennies are surging. And the value of the 1979 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny has already proven that extraordinary wealth can come from the simplest places. In the end, this isn't just the story of a coin. It's the story of awareness, of taking action, of refusing to let opportunity sit unnoticed in a drawer for another decade. It's the story of everyday Americans discovering that wealth isn't always earned. Sometimes it's found. So, as you step away from this video, I want you to carry one thing with you. Pay attention. Your financial turning point might be sitting in a dusty jar right now. And the only thing standing between you and the discovery of a lifetime is the decision to look. Imagine waking up one morning, opening an old jar of pennies you haven't touched in years, and discovering that one of those small copper coins is worth more than most luxury homes in America. Hard to believe, right? Yet that is exactly what has happened to a handful of collectors who stumbled upon one of the most surprising treasures in U.S. coin history. The rare 1986 no-mint mark wheat Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin now known to reach a staggering market value of up to $986,000. And today, you're about to learn why this ordinary-looking penny has become an extraordinary wealth builder for those lucky enough to recognize it. Welcome to a journey that might just change the way you look at every coin lying in your drawers, old coffee cans, or forgotten boxes in the attic. Because the truth is this: some of the greatest fortunes in the collectible world are hiding in plain sight. And the difference between missing them and cashing in on them comes down to knowledge, timing, and the courage to act when opportunity knocks. Before we dive deep, let me ask you something. When was the last time you checked a penny closely? Not just the date, not just the color, but the tiny details that separate a common coin from a $1 million payday. If your answer is never, then today is your wake-up call. And yes, you can call that your first pattern interrupt of the day. Because while most people ignore these coins, you are here to learn how they might unlock a level of freedom and wealth that many only dream of. It all begins in 1986, a year that wasn't supposed to produce anything rare in the world of pennies. The U.S. Mint had modern processes, tight controls, and no reason whatsoever to create a valuable outlier. Yet, against the odds, a tiny batch of coins struck without a mint mark quietly slipped into circulation. These pennies looked like the countless billions produced over the decades. But appearances can be deceiving, especially in the world of numismatics, where mistakes become miracles and errors become life-changing assets. So how does a penny with no mint mark from a year most people ignore climb toward $1 million valuation? Here's where the story begins to deepen. A handful of collectors noticed slight variations in strike quality, metal composition, and the absence of that small identifying mark. And when these coins began to surface at auctions, something unexpected happened. Bidders didn't just show interest, they went into bidding wars. Passionate, heated, adrenaline-pumping bidding wars that pushed the price of a coin worth 1 cent to hundreds of thousands of dollars. If your heart just skipped a beat, don't worry. That's normal. It's the same sensation the first discoverers felt. The combination of fear and excitement. The fear of missing something valuable, and the excitement of realizing that you might already own a piece of hidden history. Now, as we explore this coin's journey, let's make one thing clear. People don't get rich by accident. They get rich by paying attention. And the 1986 no-mint mark wheat Lincoln penny is the perfect example. But wait, some of you might be thinking, wheat penny in 1986? Yes, that's what makes this story even more fascinating. Wheat reverses hadn't been made since 1958. So when collectors found a 1986 no-mint mark penny struck using an old wheat-style reverse die, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin community. A modern coin created with a vintage design? That shouldn't have happened. Which means every surviving piece represents a rare accidental crossover between two eras of American minting. This is also where the cliffhanger kicks in, because you're probably wondering just how such a mistake could happen in a highly controlled mint facility. And the truth is, the mint never officially confirmed the error. But based on collector reports, the most likely cause was the accidental use of an old die that had been stored improperly or mislabeled. Once production started, a small batch went out into circulation before anyone realized what had happened. Think about that. A forgotten die, a simple oversight, and the result? A nearly $1 million coin hiding in loose change. If you're feeling a mix of disbelief and possibility right now, good. That means your attention is exactly where it needs to be. Because this coin's existence proves that wealth can hide in even the smallest, most ordinary places. The real question is, will you recognize it when you see it? Let's dive deeper into the physical traits you need to watch for. First, the absence of a mint mark right under the year 1986. Second, a darker or slightly richer tone of the copper surface, often caused by variations in the metal mixture. Third, sharper than usual details in Lincoln's features, especially around the beard, hairline, and collar. And finally, the unmistakable wheat reverse. Those iconic wheat stalks flanking the words 1 cent. If you find all 4 signs, you could be holding something incredibly valuable. And that leads us to the next emotional pivot: urgency. Because coins like this don't stay unnoticed forever. As more collectors search their old stashes, the remaining undiscovered examples become harder and harder to find. Every year, the window of opportunity shrinks. But let me drop another pattern interrupt here. You know what's funny? People will happily spend hours scrolling through social media but won't take 5 minutes to check their coins. Yet those 5 minutes could be worth more than decades of saving. It's ironic, isn't it? But that's exactly why the people who pay attention end up in a different financial league. And speaking of financial league, the current market value for a verified 1986 no-mint mark wheat Lincoln penny sits at an astonishing $986,000 for top-grade specimens. Even mid-grade examples can command jaw-dropping prices. Auction houses report increasing demand, record-breaking bids, and collectors who are willing to go all in to secure even one of these legendary cents. Now, let's transition into the heart of the story, the transformation. Because this isn't just about coins. It's about what they represent: opportunity, hidden value, and the possibility of rewriting your financial path. Imagine finally paying off your mortgage. Imagine retiring early. Imagine traveling, building, investing, or gifting generational wealth to your family. All because of a penny worth more than a sports car, a college degree, or even a year's salary. Stories like this inspire because they prove that life-changing discoveries don't always come from hard labor or risky ventures. Sometimes they come from curiosity and the willingness to look a little closer. But don't get too comfortable yet, because I haven't told you the final twist. Experts believe that only a small number of these 1986 no-mint mark wheat reverse pennies have ever been found, maybe fewer than 10 confirmed pieces, and many suspect a few more are still out there. Yes, you heard that right. Some of the world's rarest, most valuable pennies might still be sitting unnoticed in personal collections, jars, drawers, and estates across America. And someone, maybe even someone watching this video, might be the next person to uncover one. That possibility alone is a cliffhanger most people never forget. Because once you know that something valuable could be in your possession, you'll never look at your coins the same way again. Which brings us to what truly matters now. What should you do? Start by checking every penny dated 1986. Examine the reverse. Look for the wheat design that shouldn't be there. Look for the missing mint mark. And if you suspect you've found something unusual, do not clean it, do not handle it too much, and do not rush to sell it. Instead, get it authenticated by a reputable grader like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade can be the difference between a 5-figure value and a 6- or 7-figure value. And here's the final emotional pivot: hope. Because collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a way of discovering value where others see none. It's about transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. It's about opening doors to wealth that most people don't even know exist. The 1986 no-mint mark wheat Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a symbol of hidden opportunity. A reminder that fortune can find anyone, anywhere, at any time. So the next time you pick up a penny, remember this moment. Remember that knowledge creates wealth. And remember that one small copper coin could be your gateway to a life of freedom, abundance, and long-awaited dreams.